Hello, grade 9, and welcome to a new grammar lesson. This time we will be talking about the past tenses. This lecture will include all the 4 past tenses, which are past simple, past progressive, past perfect, and past perfect progressive. Of course, you have already taken this in grade 8, but we will go through them in more detail this year. So we begin with the past simple tense. Of course, as usual, we begin with the uses of the past simple tense. When do we use this tense? First of all, to express an action that began and ended at a point of time in the past. Example, last night we went out for pizza. Macy's parents refused to let her go out after 10 p.m. Jordan didn't attend the graduation ceremony last month. Now, very important note is that when you want to put the past simple in the negative, you have to include did, okay, which is the verb do in the past tense. He ate pizza last night, that's affirmative. In the negative, he did not or didn't eat pizza last night. Also in the interrogative, which means the question form, you have to add the verb did, which is the past tense of verb do, at the beginning of the sentence. Did the students manage to finish the exam on time? Okay, the affirmative of such a question is the students managed to finish the class or the exam on time. The negative, the students didn't or did not manage to finish the exam on time. The interrogative or question, did the students manage to finish the exam on time? Notice when we are asking a question, where do we put the verb? The helping verb. We put it at the beginning of a sentence when we are asking a question. This is a very important note. Now, moving on. Spelling rules to change the past to the past simple tense. Very important, guys. We talked briefly about this in class, but now I'm going to go through that in detail. For example, fit. It is CVC, meaning consonant, vowel, consonant, and it's made of one syllable. This is what one syllable is. Fit, okay? FIT, consonant, vowel, consonant. When I change it to the past tense, I have to double the consonant, as you see here, double the T, and add ED. When it's 2 syllables and ends with CVC, what do I mean by 2 syllables? It means refer. That's what 2 syllables are. Occur, okay? When it's 2 syllables and the second syllable, okay, this is CVC and the second syllable is stressed. Okay, I put a certain pressure on the next syllable. Refer, occur. Okay, and notice consonant, vowel, consonant. What do? I double the last syllable. Refer, occur. Do you notice the sound of the second part of this word? Occur, refer. Prefer. Because I doubled the second syllable and it ends with consonant, vowel, consonant, I double the last consonant, which is R. Okay, now if the last syllable is not stressed, like travel, listen, okay, it does end with CVC, but this, okay, travel, okay, the vowel is not stressed, okay. I do not double it, I keep it as it is and add ED. Listen, I did not say listen, listen, okay? It's not stressed, so all I do is add ED. You need to go through those spelling rules very well because they would be present in both your grammar tests or quizzes and they will be graded in your writing. For example, if you write this word wrong in a narrative essay, some of your points will be deducted. Okay, so why lose points for such silly mistakes? Let's go through those. Let's practice them. Moving on. Verbs ending with VVC, meaning vowel, consonant, like conceal, meaning to hide something. We don't do anything, we just add ed. Reveal, of course here we're talking about regular verbs. Revealed, okay, because it's VVC, we don't double anything here. Crawl, vowel, consonant, we just add ed. Then verbs ending with E, a single E, we just add D. However, verbs ending with a double E, okay, also we add D, okay? Here we add D, and here also we add D. All the list I talked about so far are regular verbs, meaning when we change them to the past, I have to add D, ED, or IED, depending on the ending. However, irregular verbs need to be studied. They do not follow a rule, like see, saw, okay? Eat, ate. I gave you the list, of course, and we need to go through that again. Now, change the following verbs into the past simple. Participate, all I need to do, it ends with a single E, add D. Joke, add D. Write, it's wrote, that's irregular. Think, thought. Tolerate, it's regular, I add D. Teach, taught, it's irregular. Walk, all I need to do is add ED. Wake is irregular, it's written as woke. Give up, okay, gave up. Swim, swam. Die, okay, all I need to do here is add D. Lie here, lie mean lying on the ground, okay. Here, lie here, I'm sorry, lie mean telling something that's opposite of the truth. It's irregular. He lied to his friends, for example, I add D. However, the irregular lie, meaning to lie on the ground or something, the past tense of that is different. I'll show it to you in the second slide. Here, it's regular, it ends with a double E. Agreed. See is irregular, it becomes saw. Let's take a look at the answers. Participate, participated. Joke, joked. Write, wrote. Think, thought. Please, O-U-G-H-T. Tolerate, regular, tolerated. Add D. Teach, taught. A-U. Okay, let me use a different font here. Walk, walked. Wake, woke, irregular. Give up, gave up. This is what we change. Swim, swam. Die, again the regular verb. Lie, meaning telling something opposite of the truth. It's regular. This verb, when you're telling something that's not true, you just add T, it's regular. However, when lie, you're lying on the ground, okay, it becomes lay. Okay, he lay unconscious on the ground. Agree, double E, you just add D. See, saw. Okay? Now fill in the blanks with the correct past simple form of the verbs in brackets. Last weekend, my friends and I, of course, regular, decided to go out for lunch. We thought that pizza was the best choice, yet unfortunately our choice, regular, turned out, this is an ED, to be bad. The pizza, past tense, what's the past tense of be? Was horrible. There wasn't, be not, wasn't enough cheese on it, and the sauce tasted weird. Number 2, you know, many of you will tell me, Miss, why are there 2 blanks and there is only 1 word? I'm asking a question here. Of course, we need to add, remember which small verb we need to add at the beginning? Did, it's a past tense. Did you know? Okay, and the know remains as it is. You can't say did you knew. Here is the past tense in the did. We can't write the past tense twice. So we say, did you know that having too much junk food might lead to heart disease? When I read, it remains the same, but you just say it differently. When I read about that, I started to be more careful about my eating habits. Jeremy, okay, now, did not tolerate the fact that his friend hangs out with others during lunch break, so he argued. It's regular, it ends with an E, single E, I just add D, with him, and they stopped. Okay, take a look at this. 1 syllable, stop. one syllable. It ends with C, consonant, vowel, consonant. So what do we do to the P here? We double it and then we add ED. They stopped speaking to each other for a month. Number 4, the doctor referred, stressed syllable. Okay, it's 2 syllables, refer, CVC, and the second syllable is stressed, so I need to double the last one and add ED. The doctor referred Laura for a scan. She broke her right arm. Of course, irregular verb. She broke her right arm. She did her best not to move during the scan. He had, the past tense of have is had. Of course, here you need to fill it with the past simple form. And there are the answers. Okay? You can check them out in the PowerPoint later on when you're studying. Moving on, used to. This is a very important part of the past simple tense. The term used to expresses a habitual action or a situation that existed in the past but is not practiced anymore. For example, I used to watch this series, but now I no longer do. I used to play video games for 7 hours at night. This means when you say I used to, it means you used to do something, but now you no longer do. Robert used to eat. Notice how we write it. Used to, and the verb is in the base form. You don't say used to ate. There goes the past simple here. You can't write this past simple twice. So this goes to base form, back to base form. Robert used to eat junk food all the time. Now he doesn't. Daniel and Jessica used to believe. Past, used to, believe, simple, that ghosts are real. Note, after the term used to, write the base form of the verb. Okay, again, I didn't used to ran for long distances. That's wrong. I didn't use to run. Okay. Layla didn't use to eat. Notice here, when you write it in the negative form, even the verb use goes back to base form. Layla didn't use to eat. We can't say Layla didn't used to eat, because there goes the past tense here. We can't write it more than once. Layla didn't use to eat healthy food. That's the negative. How about the interrogative? Same goes for the interrogative. Did Jake use to live? Again, base form here. Did Jake use to live here? So, in negative form, write base form of use and the verb. In question form, also write base form of use and verb. You don't add D, okay? Moving on, this is the end of the past simple, of course, the past simple part, which is very easy. We use the past simple to speak of actions that happened and ended in the past, okay? Now the past progressive tense, here, where are its uses? 3 uses, and you have to be very careful when you study this. 1, to express an action that was taking place at a specific time in the past. What were you doing yesterday at 8 p.m. or last night at 8 p.m.? Last night at 8 p.m. specific time, what were you doing? I was watching a documentary about child labor. Okay, was, I was, and verb ing. 2, to express 2 actions happening at the same time in the past. For example, okay, while you were watching, what was your brother doing? I was watching a documentary about child labor and my brother was playing video games. 2 actions happening at the same time in the past. Okay, example. Here, while my mother was getting the car started, my brother and I were putting our school books in our bags. How many actions are those? 2. When are they happening? At the same time. Of course, Keywords are while or as. As my mother, or while my mother was getting the car started, my brother and I were putting our school books in our bag. Finally, use number 3. It expresses an action that was taking place in the past when another action, so this action is going on, and then another action comes and interrupts it at a specific time. For example, while they were trying to cross the road, so this action is going on, he's trying to cross the road, and then what interrupted it? A car zoomed past them. So action happening, past progressive, which is was and were plus verb ing, and the interrupting action is expressed how? In the past simple tense. While I was reading my book, the door bell rang. Action happening is in the past progressive, was watching, and the interrupting action is expressed in the past simple. The doorbell rang, okay? Note, the action that was in progress, as I said, is written in the past progressive, was or were plus verb ing, while the interrupting action is expressed in the past simple tense. Okay, so those are the 3 uses of the past progressive. Affirmative, Jenna was working on her research paper last night. Negative, Adam and Ali were not or weren't talking. Interrogative, were you listening to that speech last night? Notice in the interrogative we put the verb was or were at the beginning. Let me give you another example. He was playing video games at 9. In the negative, he wasn't playing video games at 9. Interrogative, you put the was at the beginning. Was he playing video games at 9? Okay, so in the interrogative, meaning in the question form, you put the helping verb at the beginning and the subject here. Verb, subject. This is how we write a question. Now, so obviously we deduce that the form is was or were plus verb and ing. The victim was lying on the ground, of course, on the floor when the police found him. Okay? Okay, now we come to the spelling rules. The CVC rules that apply to the past simple also apply to the past progressive. CVC meaning consonant, vowel, consonant. Okay? So put, 1 syllable, put. Consonant, vowel, consonant. I have to double the ing. Okay? I have to double the T and add ing. Prefer, it's 2 syllables that end with C, consonant, vowel, and consonant. And the next syllable is stressed. Okay, prefer. I double the R. I double the last consonant. Listen. It's 2 syllables. Listen. Consonant. It ends with consonant, vowel, consonant. However, listen. Listen. It's not stressed. Okay. Travel. Listen. I just add ing. I do not double the last consonant. Now, verbs ending with y, even if there's a vowel or either if there's a vowel or there's a consonant before the y, I just leave it and add ing. Okay, you can't erase the y and add ing. It's not the same as the ied. Okay, only only in the past simple do we do that. Okay, for example, if I want to write study in the past simple, I would erase the y and add ied. However, when I am adding an ing, okay, I keep them and just add ing, even if no matter what there is before it, consonant or vowel, that doesn't matter. Okay, Now, when a verb ends with an E, a single E, you cross it out and add ing. When a verb ends with a double E, you leave the double E. You don't cross one, you don't cross two, you leave them and you just add ing. Please pay special attention to the form of verbs ending with IE. Those are, okay, a special form. Lie. You don't write L-I-E-I-N-G. That would look weird, okay? That is incorrect. In this case, you make this a Y and add ing. This becomes a Y and add ing. Okay, those are two special cases. Please remember them, okay? You cross the IE and add YING, okay? Or you make the IE into a Y and add ing. Again, you need to study those. Now fill in the blanks with either the past simple or past progressive form of the verbs in brackets. Yesterday. When I see yesterday, what does that mean? Okay, it means something that happened at a specific time and ended. Yesterday was an unusual day for me. I left home early morning for work. While, we see while. This is an indicator of which tense? Past progressive. While I was crossing, add ing, the road to go to my car, a black cat suddenly, of course, appeared. I already wrote the ed here. Okay, so this is what kind of an action? I was crossing the road and a cat, this is the interrupting action. I need to write it in the past simple. Appeared. I felt a little apprehensive, meaning worried, but went on with my destination. Number 2, as also is like while. When you see as or while, it means you need to use the progressive form. As I was trying, of course it ends with a Y, I keep everything at it as it is, and add ing. As I was trying my best to concentrate on my lesson last night, my parents, meaning two actions were happening at the same time, were watching the news on the loudest volume. I stormed out of my room and told them that I couldn't even hear myself think. Couldn't. Number 3, John didn't listen well. Remember, I asked only for two tenses, past simple and past progressive. I was specific. John didn't listen. Okay, I need to write the negative form of listen. How do I do that? I need to add the verb did in the past tense. John didn't listen well when the teacher called his name. Here, in this case, two answers are possible, by the way. If you wrote also John wasn't listening well when the teacher called his name, this is also possible and correct, because maybe John wasn't listening, something wasn't going on, and then the teacher called his name, okay? Now, you notice two dashes here, two blanks, and think. But it's a question, so I need to write did. Of course, I'm asking a question. Think about traveling at that time. Did you think about traveling at that time? Remember the golden rule. In all cases except in verb, when there's verb to be, when I want to express an action in the negative, past simple or past progressive, I need, okay, past simple, I'm sorry, I need to add the verb did, which is the past tense of the verb do. Did you think? Okay. In the past progressive, it's very simple. Okay. I was crossing the road. All you have to do is add not. I wasn't crossing the road. When you want to put that in the question form, was I crossing the road? All you have to do is use that same verb, that same helping verb, was or were, and put it at the beginning. Okay? The only exception is when there's a verb to be. Was I crossing the road? Were they crossing the road? Those are the answers, of course. Again, take a very good look at them when you study the PowerPoint. Now, this is the end of the past progressive lesson. Now we come to the third past tense, which is the past perfect tense. This is a very interesting tense, and it's very popular on official exams. It's really simple if you study it and think about it well. When is it used? It's used to express an action that began and ended before a point of time in the past. For example, by 6 a.m. Again, an indicator for this tense is the word by, okay? By 6 a.m., what had already happened? I had already finished my homework. Had finished, okay? The past perfect is expressed by had plus past participle. I had already finished my homework. Okay, what had you already accomplished? Maybe your mom would ask you, what had you already accomplished before you slept? You tell her, Mom, before I slept, I had already cleaned my room and had finished my lessons. Notice, by that time, what had already been done? Okay, so what happened before that point in time? This is when we use the past perfect tense to express an action that began and ended before a point of time in the past. Note, very important note here. We use at with the past progressive. For example, at 10 p.m. I was revising my lessons. At, I use the progressive form. When you see by, I use the past perfect. By 10 p.m. I had already revised my lesson. Okay, this is for the progressive and this is for the perfect tense. I always ask you to recognize the keywords and I tell you about them. This is why studying is very important. Okay? Use number 2. To express an action that began and ended before another action in the past. So in this case, it's the past in the past. For example, okay, so the first case is when an action began and ended before a point of time. Before a certain time. By 10 o'clock, I had already finished my lessons. Now, in the second use, 2 actions. One of them happened before the other. The action that happened before the other needs to be written in the past perfect tense. For example, before the police arrived, the thief had already escaped. Notice, 2 actions. Action 1, this is the first action, or this is what happened first. Those are the 2 actions. The police arrived or the thief already escaped? No. Before the police arrived, the thief had already escaped. This happened first. So we express it in the past perfect tense. So when you have 2 actions in the past, one of them happened before the other, the action that happened first is to be expressed in the past perfect tense, meaning had plus past participle. The action that happened later is expressed in the past simple. Okay, so let me read the rule. Here, 2 actions took place in the past. The one that happened first is written in the past perfect tense, meaning had plus past participle. Had eaten, had stopped, had awakened, or whatever. Now, the thief, in this case here, what happened first? The thief managed to escape before the police arrived. So we write that action in the past perfect. Had already escaped. Okay? And the second action, we write it in the past simple, meaning the police arrived. Okay? So I don't want to confuse you here. Here I was just dividing the sentence into 2. This happened first and this happened later. What happened first? Past perfect. Had plus past participle. What happens next? Arrived in the past simple. Notes. Always read the notes. It is very common for the past perfect to be used when with the expressions by and by the time. Okay, so those are used to express an action that took place before a certain point of time or a certain action in the past. Mid-sentence adverbs, you would notice, like already, just, ever, never, are often used with the past perfect tense also. For example here, by midnight, what had already, the moment you saw this, it means a perfect tense. The moment you saw that. By midnight, all the roads had already flooded. Okay, notice also the adverb already. Had already flooded. Another example, two actions here. This is the first use. We talked about action began and ended before a point of time. Here the point of time is midnight. Now here we have two actions, one happening before the other. After I had spent hours on the internet, I decided to log off because of my headache. Two actions. What happened first? Of course, I spent hours on the internet. Later, I decided to log off. The action that happened first, in the past perfect, had spent. The action that happened later, I logged off, past simple. Okay, again, I know this could feel confusing in the beginning, but I promise you, as you practice, you would find it much easier. Grammar is a subject that needs to be studied. We need to study the rules and we need to practice them. And you know, I give you a lot of practice sheets. If you study and do the practice sheets as required, then you should be. Okay, now this brings us to the past perfect progressive tense, very, very similar to the past perfect tense. The only difference is the following. To express an action not that happened, that was happening or in progress before a point of time in the past. For example, by the time we arrived, okay, to the meeting, the members of the committee had already been discussing the issues together. What was happening first? Not what happened, what was happening? Okay, they had already been discussing. Then we arrived. Okay, the only difference between the past perfect and the past perfect progressive is that the action was or had been going on. So that's why we add ing. It was happening, it was in progress, okay? An action had been going on before a point of time in the past, okay? By the time I arrived to class at 8:20, the teacher had already been explaining, okay? She had already started explaining. She was doing that, okay? It was in progress. 2, to express an action that was happening before another action in the past, okay? So this is the first use. This is the second use. Here, one action taking place before a point of time. Two actions in the past. One of them was taking place before another. The action that had been going on first is expressed in the past perfect progressive. The other action is expressed in the past simple tense, the same. We had been traveling for half an hour when we heard a strange noise. This was happening first, happening in progress, and then this happened. So we noticed that the only difference between the past perfect and the past perfect progressive is that in the progressive form, the action had been going on in progress. She was explaining, we were traveling, we were speaking when something suddenly happened. Form, how do we write it? Had plus been, those are constant all the time. And then the present participle. What do I mean by present participle? I mean verb plus ing, okay? Verb ing. Okay. And this note here that I just mentioned. The only difference between the past perfect and the past perfect progressive is the continuation in progress. Action was in progress. Okay? So let's do some exercises together. Fill in the blanks with the correct past tense, meaning past simple, progressive, perfect, or perfect progressive. At midnight. Notice the keyword at. Obviously, you're going to be using the present, past progressive. Okay. At midnight, Jenny was studying. Was or were plus verb ing. Jenny was studying. While, again, when you see this, while, it means past progressive. While Ron was trying to concentrate, his little brother was playing loudly. Both of them happening at the same time. By noon. Do you notice the key word here? By. So what tense? It's going to be a perfect tense, past perfect. By noon, all the rubble had been removed. Okay? Okay, you see B. How do we write the past perfect? We need a had, that's constant, and we need the past participle of the verb in brackets. What's the past participle of be? Been. Okay, all the rubble had been removed from the site of the explosion. Yesterday, the moment you see this, is the past simple. Action happened at a specific time in the past and ended. Yesterday, I spoke to my old friend Sam. He told me that he, you see an already, perfect tense, that he had already called me several times before I finally talked to him. Two actions in the past. Okay, he called me several times, had called me several times, occurred before I finally talked to him. Past perfect here and past simple, the action that happened later. When the neighbors arrived, when you see when, it's the past simple. In the clause where you have when, it's the past simple, and the other one would be the perfect. When the neighbors arrived, this is the first clause, you have a when, so this is past simple. When the neighbors arrived, what had already taken place? Their house had already turned to ashes from the fire. This is the first action. House already had already turned to fire. The neighbors arrived. Past perfect, past simple. 6. There's 4 here. What do we use with the 4? It's always the perfect tense, and which one? The continuing. Okay, so we had been sitting for 5 hours when, this is the part with the when, you use the past simple, when the doctor finally arrived. We had been sitting for 5 hours when the doctor finally arrived. As, again, past progressive. As I was trying to listen to the sports news, Mom, okay, something happening. I was trying to listen to the sports news, and then Mom shouted to me from the kitchen to get her the dishes. Okay, action happening. I was trying to listen. Mom shouted to me. Past progressive, past simple. Number 8, the scientists. Read before and read after, please, to catch the clue. The scientists work on this experiment for several years. Remember, this is the past, and you see a for, okay? There's a perfect tense in progression. The scientists had been working on this experiment for several years before they made a breakthrough. Had been working, okay, 2 actions. 1, had been working, and finally they made a breakthrough. Past perfect progressive and past simple. Okay, those are the answers. Again and again, take a thorough look at them at your own time. They need to be studied well. Okay, this is the end of the past tense lesson. Obviously this video needs to be watched more than once. The PowerPoint needs to be studied, and of course the worksheet that would be uploaded needs to be done and studied too. Okay, so until I see you, please take care, and bye bye.